warning signs are flashing for US President Donald Trump. The big question before the White House: why did the Republicans get crushed in the 2025 off-year elections? And what message are American voters sending to Donald Trump? So here's what happened. In the 2025 off-year elections across states like Virginia and New Jersey, and in high-profile ballots from New York to California, the Republican Party suffered stinging defeats. Why should viewers around the world care about that? Because this is not just about American domestic politics. It may signal a broader shift in how voters are responding to Trump and his populist leadership, the economic angst that a lot of Americans feel right now, and most importantly, the deadly mixture of inflation and immigration. Let's start with the build-up to the elections. Since 2016, Donald Trump has reshaped the Republican Party. His populist economics, defined by his signature theme, Make America Great Again, or MAGA, and his skepticism of global alliances like NATO have energized his base. But the challenge has been transferring his personal charisma or personal magnetism into a durable party majority, especially when Trump is not on the ballot. Republicans have flagged in any off-year election, and they've shown up only for presidential races when the vote is either for or against Trump. Historically, off-year elections also function as some kind of an early referendum on the party in power. The 2025 elections were no exception. States like Virginia and New Jersey, and even the Proposition 50 vote that happened in California, all point to voter dissatisfaction. And then there are economic pressures as the high cost of living, inflation, housing and energy prices, all of which are front of mind for American voters. There's also the ongoing protracted federal government shutdown, for which public opinion seems to be significantly blaming the Republicans, and even though Trump has been insistent that it's the Democrats who are responsible for the shutdown, at the end of the day, the voter has held the government in power as responsible for the shutdown. There's also voter fatigue with the spectacle and the turmoil of Trump's everyday shenanigans. The Trump style of functioning still remains extremely polarizing, and voters appeared far less focused on culture wars than on the day-to-day economic realities.
Talk about exactly 1 year ago we had that big, beautiful victory. Exactly 1 year. Last night it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. You read the pollsters. The shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, and that was a big factor. And they say that I wasn't on the ballot was the biggest factor. But I don't know about that, but I was honored that they said that.
Putting all of this together, the 2025 election results came not just from one bad race or one bad state. It was a confluence of bad factors that played. There is persistent economic discomfort, there's a lack of attention to bread and butter issues, and a base that is less reliable in down-the-ballot races when Trump is not on top of the ballot. Democrats swept key races, whether it was the governor's races in Virginia or New Jersey, the mayor of New York City, and California's redistricting vote. Exit polls showed that the economy and cost of living were the most dominant issues. Many voters, in fact, said that they were dissatisfied with how the economy was not working for them. But within the GOP, there was already finger-pointing, internal divisions. Some of them even blamed weak candidates. Others said that the party simply failed to mobilize its base. So why does this matter beyond US domestic politics? There are global economic implications. A weakened Republican Party or even a lame duck president could shift the balance of power when it comes to America's trade negotiations, tariffs, supply chain policies, and even America's strategy towards other big economies like China or India. The America First push of Trump might actually soften or even pivot if the midterms change the balance of power. There could also be a diplomatic and strategic signal. If American domestic politics favors more moderation, then there could be coalitions that are built on climate or defense or even multilateralism can find a new momentum. India, being a key American partner, is watching the space very closely, especially if there is some kind of softening of tariffs. Markets and investor sentiment will also be cautious. Political instability or a showdown in Congress can rattle the financial markets. It could impact global investment flows, and it can create policy unpredictability. And finally, there is global credibility. A president who is perceived as lame duck may find less leverage in global fora, less capacity to rally allies, and fewer tools at his disposal to shape global rules. And that has knock-on effects for high-stakes regions like the Indo-Pacific, the Middle East. You have ongoing wars between Russia and Ukraine, between Israel and Hamas. All of that is up in the air now.
The voters gave a resounding endorsement of Democrats, and I think a rebuke of the Trump administration's policies.
So in short, the 2025 off-year elections may foreshadow a shift in how the world engages and even perceives Trump's America. And for countries like India, which rely on consistent American policy on technology, defense, and trade, this is not a small matter. So looking ahead to 2026 and beyond, what does one watch out for? The first big marker is going to be the midterm elections in 2026. If the Republicans cannot reverse course, the Democrats could capture the House of Representatives. If that happens in the midterms of 2026, it can dramatically reduce Trump's legislative agenda. Already, the 2025 losses are being seen as big warning lights that are flashing in front of the Trump administration. There is the big question, though, of will Trump change his style? Will he pivot? Will he tone down on the confrontational rhetoric? Will he focus on delivery, whether it's on the economy, jobs, affordability, or will he double down on what worked for him in 2024 and risk further alienating the moderates? And most importantly, could Trump become a lame duck president in 2026 after the midterms? The 2025 results make 2026 look far worse.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.